Well, welcome back to the Potter Studio. Just when I thought I was finishing the series, I really feel strongly that there's a little bit more that we need to talk about. And it's interesting, in this day and age that we're going through where things seem to be more difficult, restrictions, wear a face mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, and the list goes on. What's essential and what's not essential services. And we feel pressured, challenged. We feel sometimes like it's a little bit much to bear. And yet, I think we all would agree we still have it pretty good. Difficult, challenged, but I'm reminded of what James says in chapter 1. Consider it a sheer gift, the Message translation says. Friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides, you know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open, and there it shows its true colors. Don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work, so you will become mature and well developed, not deficient in anything. Now, these two lumps of clay seem relatively similar. This one's a lot stiffer, but there's a way. You know, James says that I don't want to shirk away from trials and tests and challenges, because they do come. Jesus says in this world we'll have suffering and trials. That's a guarantee. And I know character develops us. And sometimes the hard things are just like hard clay. This is something called grog. This is fired up pottery that's been ground. And it adds something to the clay. It adds character. It allows the clay to respond differently when it dries. And so when you work it into the clay, it works with the clay to help it when it's being built into a structure, so that when it dries, it doesn't crack. So it can handle the pressure of drying, of difficult times, more so than a piece that doesn't have any grog in it. Let's see how it works on the wheel. So every clay has its character. Some clay more than others. This one has a lot. And it doesn't even have any of the grog in it. So what does character do in a person's life? You know, in my life, I can look at the character that's been developed by a whole variety of circumstances. Not just one, many. The circumstances in our life are there to develop us. We don't like the developing. I don't know if many of us would like to go back. We'd like to change things. But truth be known, they're there for a purpose. Look at King David. How boring would his Psalms be if he had never been a shepherd? If he had never had to encounter the challenges of bears and wolves in his life. If everything just comes to you in a silver platter, especially as a king, God used that to develop him and strengthen him. And so it is with our daily life. Each day we face new challenges and trials. And if we're just a little bit too soft at the core, we give up. Or like this piece of clay that's crying out saying, put me back and work me some more. You know, sometimes you just need to stop and listen. Could I go on and make a pot out of this? Yeah, of course I could. Would I be happy with the way in which clay had been used? Right now, I have a choice. I could take it off and save it for another day. Because it needs more work. It needs to develop more. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we need to be developed a bit more. Then you have a piece of clay like this one from a similar hump. This one I worked the grog into. We'll see how its character develops. Because character, just like life circumstances, are there. I can't change them or run away from them. Life circumstances that I see in the Bible, Moses' circumstances were challenging. "40 years in the desert." Before he led the people for 40 years in the desert, he spent 40 years as a shepherd. Apostle Paul spent 17 years tanning hides outside of Tarsus. What was all that about? That was after he accepted the Lord. Maybe God is wanting to develop character in him. Maybe he's wanting to develop a reputation and awareness. So like this piece of clay, he adds a little bit of grog. Now grog is interesting. It's like sandpaper in a way. It's lots of little pieces of broken up pottery, bisqueware, that absorb moisture and allow the piece to dry, allow the piece to survive in difficult circumstances. So what's to say God doesn't put broken pieces of our past together and use them to develop a strength? I don't relish in my past. It's there. Can't deny it. And I don't want to live in fear of it or frustrated by it. Rather, I want to let the things of the Spirit come alive in us, in me, to build me up. I think that grog is like pieces of the fruit of the Spirit that we need alive in our life, you know. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. Those are the things that build us up in relationship with one another. Build us up so that we can tolerate difficult people and difficult circumstances. So we can't get together. So you can't, at this day and age in 2021 and throughout 2020, do the things we used to do. But we can walk in relationship. We can talk to one another. We can be there and listen. We can continue to let God build us up. To become what He wants us to become. So, when you add a little bit of crazy character into your life, and for a potter that's adding some grog to the clay, it's not the end of the world. The brokenness of your past, the brokenness of life, sometimes is ground up. Like James says, it's a gift. Consider it a sheer gift. I have a hard time, I think we all do, considering the trials of life a sheer gift. Allow yourself to go through the tests and challenges, because it's when our life is under pressure. That's when, like James says, my faith life is forced into the open. I'm seen for really what I really am. I want to be an image bearer of the living God. I want to be built up by Him, to be used by Him. My prayer is, you'd allow yourself to be built up. Look at the circumstances of your life and allow them to develop you, not break you. Thanks for being a part of this experience with pottery. For being a part of listening to what God's Word has to say for all of us. Pray that God would encourage you, cause you to grow. In your faith journey with Him. Thanks again for joining me in the Potter Studio.